Hello and welcome. It's midweek, which only means that this is Wednesday's edition of The Brief. I'm Jessy Chahal. Thanks for being with me. On the program today, joining me as usual will be Nordin, Abdullah, Crisis Management Analyst, who will be speaking to us on two important topics. Firstly, the ending of forced labor, and as well to discuss China's zero COVID-19 policy and what that means to us here in Malaysia. And shortly after that, Puan Siti NORAIDA Sheikh Abdullah will be joining us. She's the director at the Department of Business Development, Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, who will join me as we take a quick look at the KELUARGA Malaysia JUALAN program and its progress to date. As always, we kick off firstly with the news in brief. And here's an update from the Parliament. The Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, will confer the ASEAN leaders to propose the use of Bahasa Melayu as ASEAN's second language in elevating the language to an international level. Apart from Malaysia, Bahasa Melayu is also used as a medium instruction in countries like Indonesia, Brunei, and Singapore, as well as in southern Thailand, southern Philippines, and parts of Cambodia. In the meantime, Malaysia is committed to developing its water sector in a sustainable manner in line with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. Prime Minister says Malaysia is among countries committed to the SDGs objective, incorporating the introduction of Green Technology Master Plan in the year 2017. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has just returned from a two-day visit to Vietnam, and the Prime Minister has suggested that the two countries look into organizing appropriate programs in exchange of high-level visits. All this is in line with the upcoming 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Malaysia and Vietnam. That's taking place next year. And according to Met Malaysia, a moderate earthquake with a magnitude of 5.5 on the Richter scale struck Taiwan earlier at about 4:30 a.m. Based on the department's initial assessment, it has not and does not pose a tsunami threat to Malaysia. And the national track cycling ace Datuk Muhammad Azizul Hasni Awang and wushu exponent Tan Cheong Min were named National Sportsman and Sportswoman at the 2019-2020 National Sports Award last night. This is Azizul Hasni's fourth and a first for Cheong Min. Well, Malaysia has formally ratified the International Labour Organization's Forced Labour Convention, known as Protocol 29, or simply P29, which shows our country's commitment to eliminate forced labour, and the HR Minister or the Human Resource Minister has described it as a historic moment for Malaysia. Nordin Abdullah joins me at this point to discuss this issue. Nordin, welcome back to the brief. What does the ratification of P29 mean to us here in Malaysia?
Well, Jesse, what this does, it elevates Malaysia to the next level and shows that the country is serious about managing its human resources very well, and especially ensuring that there's no forced labor or child labor or human trafficking that will take place here. And also Malaysia says that, look, we're willing to step up to the plate and be part of the international community who are driving change in this sector. So it's something that will have a long-lasting impact on key sectors, especially like the palm oil sector, which has come under criticism for labor practices in the past. But obviously now with stepping up with this P29, you're now moving to a new area. So that allows for the country to move on. And also the corporations within the country now need to place themselves at a higher level as well. So that's something that I think we will see developments. This is a positive development, and it's avoiding future crisis.
That's right. So this cements Malaysia's decision to formally act against forced labor and human trafficking. Question is, will this impact our international standing, as these issues have already smeared the country's image in the past?
Well, Jesse, this will have a positive impact on Malaysia's international image. And also it will trickle down into the corporate sector all the way down to the community level, so that we will see that the regulatory framework is now correct. So policy framework has also been sorted out. So that will ensure that the business practices and labor standards are now at internationally benchmark levels. And also we are talking about continuing to share with our partners in this movement a report every 3 years. So when you do that, you're opening yourself up and saying, look, we're happy to share with what's going on in Malaysia, and when that happens, we will see the good developments that the government has been working on over the last few years to ensure that the foreign labor as well as local labor as well is not forced into modern slavery or any of these other conditions.
That's right. From one milestone change, Nordin, to another, China says they will stick to a dynamic zero infection strategy to fight the current rebound of COVID-19 cases happening there. Local authorities are giving their all to optimize epidemic prevention and control a curve of COVID-19 resurgence, again, which has hit many regions there. If we look closer into this, China is striving, of course, to tame the latest wave. What's your view of their dynamic zero infection strategy? Is this something that will gain momentum, and is this something that can actually be realized?
Well, Jesse, when we look at the rest of the world, the rest of the world is moving in the exact opposite direction. People are opening up their economies. People are opening up the way things are done. Of course, there's a different social setting in China and a different legal setting that allows that to happen. So I think China, with its over 1 billion population, needs to take this approach simply as the only way to ensure that it doesn't take out massive percentages of the population. Because even a small percentage of the population is greater than some countries, and we need to take that reality into consideration. But in terms of a strategy for Malaysia, I think Malaysia and most of the Western world are moving towards an endemic phase where we're going to be dealing with the virus on a day-to-day basis, and that will be a more of a strategic approach for the rest of the world. And I think for Malaysia is obviously the best way forward, because the economics, the social realities, the mental health, all of this needs to be put into the threat matrix, so that when we say that COVID-19 is a problem, but it's not the only problem, and I think we need to realize that.
And I want to go back to the reminder of these words that we used to hear before, the new norm. Initially, it felt like something far away, but here we are. This is the new norm, and we'll have to live with it. What do you think we can learn from China before we open our borders? Looking at that date is impending, literally about a week away.
Yeah, it's exciting times, but with that kind of excitement, there are risks involved. So we need to look at our reality. China has its own problems to deal with, and they look at cities in China and regions in China. It's almost looking at a country in itself without looking at the entire country. So from the Malaysian perspective, we need to take into consideration how they control and contain. We always look at this, and we talked about this earlier, over the last 2 years, that containment is going to be key for China. And I think that is their threat right now. We've got massive, very high levels of vaccination, high levels of booster jabs, and even the local and foreign population here in Malaysia have all been part of this. So we're moving to that new phase, and I think that new normal. And it's about sustainably managing this problem. And Malaysian government has realized that the best way to sustainably manage this problem is to move to the endemic phase as quickly and also as safely as possible. So we take the good that China has taught us in terms of their SOPs and the way they manage the disease, and we look at the West as well, and we come up with a hybrid solution that is culturally sensitive to Malaysia.
Nordin, thanks. We'll speak to you again. That was Nordin Abdullah, Crisis Management Analyst, weighing in on a couple of important issues there on the crisis update. Let's swiftly move into business in brief at this point. The ringgit rebounded to open higher against the US dollar today as the greenback retreated amid improvement in the equity market. As of 9 a.m. earlier today, one US dollar stood at 4 ringgit and 21 cents. And the Bursa continued to trade higher and ended the morning trading session in positive territory, aided by buying activity in financial services counters and small cap stocks. At 12:30 p.m., KLCI or FBM KLCI earned 13.02 points higher at 1598.83. And a quick look at gold prices as of 9:30 a.m. today. The physical price of gold stood at 251 ringgit and 42 cents per gram. Petronas has signed a production sharing contract with 5 offshore exploration blocks, enabling the firm to attract a capital commitment of 600 million ringgit in exploration activities in the country. The contract is said to reflect the attractiveness of the country's hydrocarbon resources potential. And in international business, the Egyptian pound slid to around 18.50 to the dollar yesterday, a day after the country devalued the currency by 14%. On Monday, Egypt devalued the currency from 15 pounds to the dollar. Now, the country plans to restructure its public budget for fiscal year 2022-2023 in order to cope with the global crisis resulting from the war in Ukraine. We move on to our features segment today. Joining me at this point of time is one SITI NORAIDA Sheikh Abdullah, Director at the Department of Business Development from the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, to walk us through a little bit about the program JUALAN KELUARGA Malaysia and its progress so far. Juan, welcome to the program. It's good to have you join us, and really, looking forward to hear some of your thoughts with regards to this program. Let's kick off first with some of the feedback that you've received from the Rakyat about this program so far.
Okay, first of all, thank you for inviting us. And with regard to the question about feedbacks from the Rakyat about the program JUALAN Program Malaysia, or PJKM as we call it in short, is very encouraging and well received at the moment. In fact, as of yesterday, the number of visitors to PJKM has actually reaching almost 2 million visitors across Malaysia. And it is actually heartwarming when we hear feedbacks from the Rakyat themselves that this program actually can ease the burden of their cost of living, especially in today's economic situation.
Right, so we look at that number, that figure, over 2 million. What does that tell us in terms of sales? How much have we made in sales?
Okay, as to date, the number of recorded sales revenue for this program is reaching about 36.7 million, and it involves locations, 1,242 locations all across Malaysia. And as I said, this is what we can see, that the good response coming from the Rakyat for this program.
One, of course, no easy feat here, lots of organization in the background as well, logistics. How does the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs tackle panic buying, perhaps, or wholesale buying at this point of time, knowing that this is also a program that caters to the masses for all? So do you have any sort of, mechanisms in place to handle this sort of consumer behavior?
Oh, yeah. When we talk about panic buying, most of it started off with rumors of fear of the unknown and uncertainties amongst the public. So it is more like a perception in what sense. So in this regard, KPDN has always tried to manage these perceptions per se. we, through continuous effort in giving out the right information to the public, and so that they can understand. In a way, we are educating them not to listen to any false rumors that can create panic buying. And apart from that, we also, as you know, we do control the price, and we have the maximum price scheme in case there are any shortages, because we want to avoid any further panic buying from the market. So this is a continuous effort from our part, and we hope that the public also can actually help us when they receive any info or whatnot, to be really careful of what they hear, so that they can actually control their purchasing power.
That's right. Of course, with social media as well, lots of misinformation going around. So make sure to check with the verified resources. But
Yes.
you speak about, the efforts behind it, and so much has been done, and it's proof that it has been a success so far. How long more does the program last for? And is there any plan to make this program a permanent feature, perhaps even more so during festivities?
Yeah. Since the initial plan for this program is it is supposed to end this month actually, but due to the encouraging response from the public, there are suggestions for this program to be extended. And at the moment, the ministry, we are reviewing to continue PJKM until Ramadan, as what our deputy minister has actually mentioned before. But still, however, this would actually be dependent upon the willingness of players from retail sector as suppliers and supermarkets to continue working with the government in order to realize this program for future.
Puan, what's happening around the world as well will affect supply chain, and our government has taken various intervention measures as well to ensure that the conflict between Russia and Ukraine does not affect food production, and is also, trying to control food prices here in the country, especially those subjected to international supply chain that is, of course, Malaysia bound. Will this affect the program Jualan Keluarga Malaysia?
Okay. Um, at, at this juncture, the program PJKM is not actually affected by what's happening in Russia and Ukraine conflict, because most of our products we get sourced from local suppliers. So the elements of crisis or conflict in Ukraine does not has any impact on this program at this moment. So that do not worry. We can say that it is okay. The program is going on smoothly right now.
It is secured. Well, that's definitely good to know. Before I let you off, Puan, is there any message to Malaysia?
Well, I would say that we, in this time of situation that we endure, that we face, everybody plays a role, not just the government, even the private sectors, and even the consumers, the public. We have to stand along together to go through this situation or difficulties that we are facing right now. It is a collaborative effort. It's not just a one-man responsibility to take on.
So, Puan, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and we look forward to more of these programs mushrooming up, as you said, over 1,000 locations across the country, and about 36.2 million ringgit in sales as well. That is definitely something to celebrate, and knowing that these products are far-reaching to Malaysians who will be able to benefit from them. We will speak to you again. Till then, do take care. That was Puan Siti Noraida Sheikh Abdullah, the Director at the Department of Business Development from the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, telling us a little bit about the program Jualan Keluarga Malaysia and its progress so far. Well, it's now time to take you through international news. Firstly, rescuers in southern China are searching for of victims from a China Eastern Airlines jet after it crashed with 132 people on board. Unfortunately, at this point, no survivors have been found. These are some footages of the rescue mission here. Search for the recorders, or better known as black boxes, of the plane involved in China's first crash of a commercial jetliner since the year 2020 is still being carried out in a grid by grid fashion. Rescuers are still in the midst of locating the black boxes. And residents of Venezuela complain about water supply failures. More than 70% of the population say they have not received water continuously during the pandemic. According to a study, an estimated 70% of the population does not receive drinking water service. Well, this, of course, is a coincidental irony on the Day of International Water. And Venezuelans have also long suffered from bad water, electricity, and gas services amid an 8-year economic collapse as a result of disinvestment and mismanagement. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Japan issues urgent call for its residents to save energy, warning of blackout following last week's earthquake, causing a major power shortage in the region. The earthquake temporarily cut power of nearly 2 million households, including hundreds of thousands in Tokyo's. Lights were dimmed, with residents dialing down thermostats, while the Tokyo Skytree Tower turned off its lights for a whole day. And now on to updates on the crisis in Ukraine. WHO Regional Europe Director calls for urgent assistance for Moldova to handle the influx of refugees from Ukraine. Over 331,000 people have fled to Moldova, left with a dire need for physical and mental health support. Meanwhile, the EU member countries are divided over the ban of Russian energy, as countries have differing dependence on Russian energy imports. The meeting between the bloc have failed to reach a consensus over the issue. On the whole, the EU is heavily reliant on Russian energy, taking up a significant proportion of the EU annual imports. If the bloc cuts Russian oil imports, oil price is estimated to spike to $300 to $500 per barrel. And UN Secretary General urges an end to Russia's absurd war on Ukraine, warning that the conflict is going nowhere fast, as the Ukrainian people are enduring a living hell. He calls the war unwinnable, urging a negotiation to be reached through peace talks. He also points out that the war is being felt globally, with skyrocketing food, energy, and fertilizer prices threatening to spiral into a global hunger crisis. And here's a quick update from Parliament. The current implementation of the RFID technology at toll plazas along the North-South Highway is crucial to ensure that the system works efficiently before it is expanded. This was said at the Dewan Negara earlier. Senior Works Minister Datuk Seri Fadila Yusof said that during the trial period, any problems, including from the administrative and legal aspects, will firstly be identified and resolved so that the system would not become a burden to motorists traveling on the road. And here's a quick look at what's trending on Twitter today. My Sejahtera trends today with the application introducing a brand new update verifying users. Make sure to update your My Sejahtera application today. I know I'll be doing mine shortly. In the meantime, Farm Fresh, that's a household brand name, makes its banging debut on Bursa, opening with 27.2 million shares, raising frenzy among investors on Twitter. That's also, of course, buzzing in Twitterville. The hashtags are MySejahtera and hashtag FarmFresh. Well, that's all the time I have for you today on The Brief. It's Wednesday's edition. Thank you so much for watching. Catch me same place, same time tomorrow for more updates in and around the country. Till then, I'm Jessy Chahal. Take care.